I can't say anything inappropriate now.
Okay, very well. So we're starting to stream now. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session and Ask Us Anything session about MySex. It's really good to see so many people on the call already. So starting with some quick introductions, I'm Rita, the head of acceleration at Maze. And with us, we have Angela, who's responsible for supporting the startups that are piloting with the corporates and doing all the corporate work that we have. We have Christoph, who's the CEO and co-founder of MysteryMinds, who's going to be sharing with us his experience throughout the program in the previous edition. And we have Nadia, COO of SafetyNet, who is also here to share her experience with MySex. Both of them were part of this cohort that we've had in 2020, a great year. So the goals of the session today. We're doing this because it's a great opportunity for us to tell you about MySex in more detail, to clarify any doubts that you may have. We have prepared here some key questions that we feel always come up and going to answer those, but please feel free to interact in the chat if you have any questions. We will address them eventually. And then, of course, we have the two founders with us who will share their experience. So that's it. Basically, we just want to be as transparent as we can so that you can be completely informed about what MySex has to offer so that you can understand whether MySex is a program for you, for the stage of your company, for the goals that you want to reach, because obviously acceleration programs are all different in themselves and they don't fit everyone and they don't serve all the needs. And we want also to save your time. If this is not the right alignment, don't even bother making an application is best for you. And that's why we do this. If on the other hand, if you feel this is exactly what you need, we'll be delighted to read your application. In terms of the format, as I said, we're going to just start with a quick overview of the main points that we feel are important for you to know. And then we will do a format of interview with Christoph and Nadia. Okay, sounds good to everyone? Awesome, very well. So let's start with the foundations, meaning let's start with who Maze is. Not MySex, but Maze. So Maze is the overall company in which MySex is part of. Maze is an impact investing company based in Lisbon, Portugal. We exist since 2013, and we have three main pillars of action. One of them is work with the public sector. The other one is an impact investing fund called Mustard Seed Maze Fund. It's a 50 million euro fund to invest in impact startups all over Europe. And then we have MySex, the Pan-European Impact Accelerator that is going to be the focus of our conversation here. So what is MySex? MySex is an accelerator, obviously, as I said, which is supported by several partners, two foundations, the Carlos Gulbenkian Foundation, the Edmundo Rothschild Foundations, and three corporate partners, PLMJ, a Portuguese law firm, BNP Paribas, the global bank, and Luz Saúde, which is a private health company, also Portuguese. And then we have Casa do Impacto, which is a hub, an impact startups hub here in Portugal, where we used to do the program in person. And this year, the coming year, we have changed the format, so it's going to be fully remote, but we're still going to have some moments there and you will understand everything. So who is MySex for? So what kind of startups are we looking for at MySex? And we'll just share a little bit of the rationale behind these criteria as well. So obviously MySex is for impact startups, those that we call those that have a lockstep model. And the lockstep model is when your business model is aligned with your impact model, meaning that you have created a company and your product or your service in order to solve or tackle a social environmental problem. And the more you sell, the more impact you're creating. So those things are completely linked. This is the kind of companies that we really want to support growing, because we really, really believe in their potential to become great businesses in the future, given all the market trends. Then in terms of maturity stage, we're looking for companies that are at like early stage, pre-seed, seed. It's important that the companies have already developed their product and are now in the process of selling, because the whole structure of MyZex, the whole support structure, is focused on helping companies to grow, scale, not so much on development. We would probably have to do some strong adjustments to the format of the program in order to support you develop a product. So it's important. If you are at that stage, then perhaps MyZex is a little bit, is not really the focus. You are a bit too early for us, but still, maybe next year. Then in terms of other criteria, geography is important for us. Not geography in the sense of where your company is based. We don't really care about that. But geography in the sense of what's your priority of markets that you're trying to leverage on. So we are focused in Europe. So looking for companies that want to grow in Europe, and this is Camelia, sorry. So companies that want to grow in Europe, and the reason for us to have this as a criteria is the fact that, again, the support structure that we have is mainly European. So if you want to grow in a different market other than Europe, once again, we're probably not the best partner right now for you, okay? Then in terms of quickly going into the work approach, how we work with the startups and what the format of the program is. So starting with the format, the program lasts for 4 months. We have 1 week in Lisbon in person, focused on community building, development of leadership skills, networking. So that's the in-person part, which is so important. And this year we've done everything remotely. And obviously we felt that it was amazing, the remote format. That's why we're keeping it. But the in-person was lacking and is super relevant. That's why we're doing that first week. And then the following 15 weeks are going to be remote, meaning that you can be wherever you want and wherever makes more sense as, you know, founders, CEOs, or whatever in your companies. So we really want you to take that decision, because that's the best for your company, and we'll just work remotely. If you decide to be in Lisbon, you have us and Casa do Impact to work from, and so you're very welcome to join us. In terms of the actual approach, MyZex is very customized in its approach in working with founders. So at this stage of companies that we select, the challenges that each company faces are quite different, right? And therefore we don't have a curriculum prepared. We're not going to tell you now we're going to really focus on this topic altogether, and then we're going to focus on another one. Instead, from the very beginning, we hear you and we ask you, what are your challenges? What are your priorities? And how can we be of help? And we have a structure of a hands-on team. So several people with different backgrounds, different experiences, from fundraising to strategy, business development, product development, technology, impact, narrative, digital marketing, a lot of the main topics that we'll need to scale a company. And then we have a wide network of advisors that have skills and expertise that help us complement some gaps that we may have as a hands-on team naturally. So just so you understand, this is how we work in general terms. So very much dependent on you telling us what exactly you need from us. Then obviously, since we have a cohort of 10 startups per year, there's so much value that the cohort has in itself. So we leverage on that. So we have obviously 1 workshop a week. Naturally, we have a few talks. All these moments are optional. No need for you to really be there all the time. Hopefully, you will find them relevant and you will be participating, but there's no really a sense of being mandatory. The only mandatory moment for us is on Mondays, the meeting that we have with all the startups, where you make an update on what you've done in the previous week, what you're going to be doing, and what have been the challenges, so that you share with each other and you help each other. And then Christoph and Nadia will probably go into more detail on the value of the cohort, right? And of being part of this community. Then a final point that I wanted to mention is the cost of MyZex. So there's no cost for the startups. We don't take any equity. You don't have to pay anything. This is, we are asked a lot, so what's in it for you? Why are you doing this? We do this because it's part of our mission as, ecosystem players. We really believe in the potential of companies like yours. And we feel that founders of companies in this stage need some non-financial support. And they also need it, hopefully not in an aggressive manner. And that's why we have found another way of funding our work. So we're still being paid. It's all covered. It's all good. It's just, again, as you know, a matter of a business model. And in our case, we're funded by the partners that I referred before. And then before passing it to Angela, I just want to also mention that we are a generalist accelerator, in the sense that we don't really have a vertical of area. Obviously, there's the impact umbrella, but within impact, there's so many areas that we look at and that we work with. So we're generalists in that sense. However, we have two corporates, so PLMJ, the law firm, and BNP Paribas, the bank, who have shared with us some of their areas of preference to test some solutions internally. So they will be having some corporate pilot opportunities. And that's why we're going to choose one startup to pilot with each of these companies. But now I'll pass it to Angela, because she's the master in this area. She will give us more details on this.
Cool. Thank you, Rita. So I wanted to start by explaining what this means by having corporate pilot opportunities. So as Rita mentioned, 2 out of the 10 startups of this cohort will be chosen by one of our partners and will be selected to test their solution internally at these companies. And for the startups that we support, usually they see this as an opportunity to test a new market, some new features, or even business models. For example, Chatterbox 2 years ago, they have been working with B2G and they wanted to test their B2B model, and they used their opportunity to pilot with BNP Paribas for that. So for us, it's really like a safe place for you to test new things, but it's also an easy way for you to entering, for example, in a promising sector that you were looking for. In terms of the partners that we have and the areas that we are actively scouting, as Rita mentioned, we are working with PLMJ, one of the leading law firms here in Portugal, and also with the Portuguese branch of BNP Paribas. For BNP Paribas, we are looking for startups in the areas of circular economy, very specifically on how to change behaviors, and they want to bring sustainability for their workforce, including their 7,000 employees. For PLMJ, it's a little bit more complex. We are scouting for 4 different areas, but we are going to choose only one startup. The areas that we have open is on how to improve employees' mental health and well-being, and how to improve as well their diversity, inclusion, including also the gender equality issue, how to democratize the access to legal services, and also sustainability analytics, meaning how to track, to measure, and analyze the impact of their whole operation. Also speaking about the support we provide specifically on the area of the pilots, sometimes people ask us how different the experience is for the startups that are piloting and those that are not. The only difference is the fact that they have access to this big opportunity, and that our team will be working alongside with them to define or to better understand the scope of the pilot, to design a plan that it's adequate to the company's needs. We have been working with these corporates for a long time already, and essentially we want to help the startups to better track and measure the impact of what they are building, and to make sense of all the learnings and improve the chances of renewal, because when we look at corporate startup pilots, the statistics are very scary. So what we want to do is really for everyone involved to take the most out of these experiences and make it as a or increase the chances of this being a source of recurrent revenue in the future for the startups. In parallel with all of this, the startups that are piloting have access to all the perks of the accelerator, meaning that they can have our strategic support if there's a need, access to our mentors, and the knowledge that is always being shared at any time by anyone from the team. And I think about the pilots, that's it. And maybe I would just give a few details about the selection process, which is applicable for anyone applying to MazeX pilots or non-pilots. So applications will be open until the 21st of December. After that date, our team will be analyzing all the applications and will select those that we will be interviewing. We will have a series of 1 or 2 interviews. In the case of those piloting, our partners will be involved in this interviewing process as well. And the shortlist will be invited for a pitch with our selection committee, us, our corporate and founding partners. That can happen in Lisbon or not, depends on how the next year will look like. The final selection will be in March and the program will start in April. And I think I covered all the main logistics. And now probably we should leave it to our guests, Christoph and Nadia, that are tired of hearing us speaking about MazeX. So I would ask you to briefly present what you do at MysteryMinds and SafetyNet and what's your mission of your startup. And then we will go through some questions that we have for you. Is that okay? Cool. Nadia, do you want to start?
Can do, yeah. So hi guys, I'm Nadia and I'm COO of SafetyNet Technologies, where we build technology to help enable precision fishing, so making fishing more sustainable around the world.
Thank you.
Cool. And I'm Christoph. Also, hello everybody. We are based in Germany, in Munich, and with MysteryMinds, we're focusing on creating meaningful connections among employees in large companies. So we built a couple of matchmaking tools to bring together the right people in large organizations.
Great.
Very well. So now we'll start with the questions. So Nadia, starting with you, please share with us why you decided to apply to MazeX and what were your initial expectations?
Sure. So there's a few reasons why we applied to MazeX. Firstly, it was because of the impact focus for us. So we've been part of some accelerators and support programs in the past, and which have been helpful in different areas. But what we were really looking forward to is a program with other impact organizations that kind of have that angle and know kind of the struggles that social enterprises also encounter. So for us, this year was really crucial, as the MazeX guys knew, because we had just raised our seed investment and we're going to market and growing our team. And with that came a lot of work and effort from across different areas. So what we were hoping for was a program that could help us build our skills while we grow our company and kind of bring in some of the expertise and mentorship as we start going to market and knowing what to expect. So that was one big area. And then the other was also that as we were going to market, Portugal was also one of our target markets. So being able to understand the ecosystem a little bit better and get to know some of the players there and just getting a bit better connected with the landscape that was already there was something that we were hoping for through MazeX. So those are kind of our initial expectations too. I think, yeah, as I mentioned, other support programs and accelerators, I think what our expectations was that we'd be given a program with support in terms of mentorship and some experts, and really getting to know hopefully other startups that were going through similar or situations as us, or that had gone through that would be able to provide that kind of insight and be able to learn from different trainings that we would need the skills from.
What about you, Christoph? And you can be honest with everyone. We
Perfect.
chased Christoph, and it wasn't love at first sight.
So
it's a different story.
Yeah, start from the beginning. I don't know if you had this call last year, but at this stage, I was like not involved. So we got also, like you may know, as the founders of companies, you get a lot of emails from accelerators, from programs, and everybody wants to speak to you. And basically, I was always forwarding it or deleting it. And then one of my employees told me, oh, there's a program in Portugal, and Portugal sounds nice. They have a lot of beaches, and it's 3 months in person. So he decided to set an application, which was like not the best, I would say. And then we had like this first or second round of conversations, and we noted that it's a pretty good program and it's very useful and it could really help us to grow. So at that stage last year, we were thinking about growing internationally and preparing our internal processes and growing. And so actually the program, like the fit of how Maze could support us, was pretty what we needed. And then in addition, obviously, with this amazing location, we decided to push it forward. And then, then we took part in it. Our expectations were to get like a third party looking at our company, giving honest feedback and helping us to grow and to redefine what we were doing, because we were like at the step where we were in this hamster wheel where we were very busy doing things, but not having a strategic view. So we thought it might be a really good investment of our time. And that's why we moved forward.
Cool.
And then maybe the really good thing is, we speak about that later as well, is that we are part, well, technically still are part of the pilot with a corporate. And for us, it was really useful to be able to speak to a big company in Portugal and to speak to their needs, having focus groups, and also deploying our system to a company in a different country. So that was also one of the main reasons, because, well, we get one new customer at least in Portugal. And right now we're in many conversations as well, but this is something I think we speak later about.
Cool. Do you want to, maybe Rita was writing here to me, maybe you can share a bit, how was your experience with the pilot? It's still going on, right? So can you share that with the people hearing us?
Yeah, so everybody, I'm not sure, maybe you want to write in the chat who is selling to
Face is frozen.
Christoph.
Doesn't want to talk about the pilot, apparently.
Wait, coming.
Like he was doing in a B2B business. Coming back?
We lost you.
Am I back?
We lost you. Now you're back.
No.
You need to start over.
Repeat, please.
Okay, just spoke about the whole pilot, but as you
Okay.
It always takes longer with large companies. Of course, we did. Can you hear me or not?
No.
Let me see. Yeah.
It seems like it was on purpose. Wait.
Okay, Nadia, let's go back to you then. It's okay. We're gonna just mute Christoph for a while. And please share with us then how, because you were talking about your initial expectations of MyZ. So how was your experience different from it, and how was your experience at MyZ?
It was totally different in a very, very good way though. So this is like my love letter to MazeX, and just so everyone knows on the call, they did not pay me. I am doing this for free.
And we told you to be honest and to talk about the downsides. Please do.
Exactly. So in terms of expectations and then actually what happened. So what we didn't realize was kind of just the hands-on customization and like breadth of support that we would get from not just the MazeX team themselves, but the mentors and the network and all the support system around it. So it was a lot more intense than we had expected the program to be, but in a really good way, because not only did it hold us accountable with like milestones to be reached every 3 weeks and plans that were developed for us with us together, but it was a very very intensive period where we could actually work on the things that we wanted to for our business and be given that time to focus on it and also reflect on where we wanted to go. But then, one, it was the MazeX team that really provided a lot of support themselves with skills that they had. Rita helped us with our financial model. And then it was within the mentors, the amount of hours and sessions that they did with us, like very, very customized. Like we had an SEO training where Tiago researched us for I don't know how long, but created a whole presentation and recommendations on what we needed to do, which we're still busy implementing right now. So, it was a lot more customized and intense than I had expected, but definitely exceeded my expectations because of that.
Christoph.
Cool. So yes, I'm back. So I can just agree what Nadia said. I also wrote down the Tiago, like the SEO optimization guy, because we also got amazing feedback, which led us to like 2 times or 3 times increase our visitors on the website just by some hacks on SEO management. But in general, we also were really surprised by the detail of customization, that it was really focused on our needs and on what we needed. So we had in the beginning many strategy sessions, and it was great to be able to speak to experts in those fields who did what we are doing right now, who did that already 5 times or 4 times. So we got really good feedback from an outside point of view, which really helped us to develop the long-term strategy and to focus what we want to and what we don't want to do. And then also in the second step to align our team. So it was the first time that we as the founders were like agreed on where we are going to go. And we were like absolutely sure we go there. And then the communication was also a lot easier. So that helped us a lot to develop internally and was an amazing benefit. What Nadia just was saying, those experts, it was always great when we had one issue. For example, we are building these matchmaking tools and we need Outlook integrations, for example. So there was a technical problem we didn't find out. So we could contact Maze. Oh, Microsoft is a partner of you. Do you have any guy who can help us? And then after 2 days, we were in touch with like a developer in England who was like really specific in detail on this technical need and could help us. So all these kind of things that you need, they were there and supported us. So that was like an amazing benefit. I wrote down, in addition, the legal support. So PLMJ, this law company, which is international law as well, they helped us a lot in improving our contract, like a service contract, data privacy contract. And at some point, they were even helping us to not to sue a competitor, but a competitor was putting like our name on a website, and then they wrote a really angry letter. And so we could just forward this letter in English, in perfect legal English, and say, oh, we have a problem here. And that also
I didn't know about that. That's amazing.
That was like really useful. And they were responding like if we were a really big, important client. So it was really nice to have the legal company helping you a lot.
Yeah.
That was also a big benefit. But overall, as Nadia said, we are not paid for that. And we even didn't speak with Angela and Rita before what we should answer. But there are so many specific benefits we got out of it that it was absolutely valuable. And it's still like a big help for us and to improve the company.
Yeah, same. And I want to add also really quickly, sorry, this could probably last like 5 hours and I'll cut it short. But PLMJ were amazing, or have been and are continuing to be amazing with us too, just the amount of work they've done for us. And it's still free. And we're like, how? But yeah, that's been a massive value asset for us in terms of contracts, our warranty, our guarantee, like everything they've helped with us on our legal sides. And then also what's been really surprising is, so I mentioned wanting to join MazeX because of the impact side, because we figured at least they have connections there from the impact world. But when we were saying like we work in the fishing industry and that's quite niche and like the ocean space itself, MazeX were still able to get us contacts in Portugal within that sector, and that was amazing and surprising as well.
I just wanted to touch on that point of the pro bono support that PLMJ provides to all the startups, because I didn't mention that, as there are a lot of different smaller parts of the big structure of MazeX that it's hard to say when you're pitching MazeX. But basically PLMJ, besides the corporate pilot that they do and that Christoph will go into detail in a bit, is the fact that they also provide a team of lawyers to work with all the startups for several months on a pro bono basis. And with this support, you get actual like legal support, so hands-on support, like Christoph and Nadia were mentioning. And this is also like we love them. They are an amazing company, amazing lawyers, and it's incredible. And clearly, the support that they provide is also really useful for the startups.
Cool. Christoph, can you tell us a bit more about the pilot that you're implementing with them?
Yeah, sure. I'm trying a third time now. Hopefully it's working. So yeah, as I told before, like the B2B sales process is really difficult if you sell software into companies. So the great thing was that with PLMJ, basically in the selection process, I think they already agreed in doing our pilot and purchasing the solution. So it was like a really warm start because we started and it was already clear we are running the product. And we decided to build a mystery coffee solution where the employees of PLMJ sign up and then they get matched with somebody from a different practice area in their company, and they have a coffee conversation for 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get to know like informal conversations and to break down silos in their company. And yeah, and we started with the pilot, and in comparison to other customers, it was really fast. So we are about to, the website is ready. We are about to launch right now. It's this week or next week where we officially start in the company. So it took like 6 months, 5 months, 6 months, which is for us really fast in the company still. And the process was really easy. So we directly got into the company. They gave us all the feedback. We wanted to run a focus group with them with specific, like those law people are very different in depending on where they work and if they are a partner or not. The hierarchies are very complex. So we did a focus group around that. Learned a lot about the law industry and about their specific needs, and yeah, and customized the pilot for them. And yeah, for us, it was really, really good because now, well, we have the version in Portuguese, which is the first Portuguese version, and they are starting to use it in the next days. So yeah, we're really excited about getting the pilot launched finally.
That's great. I just wanted to tell everyone that you can ask your questions here on the chat, even if it is not about Christoph or Nadia's specific experience, but to Rita and I. I think I was going to ask you about the biggest value that you took out of MazeX, but I think you explored a lot about that already. Maybe let's focus on what was more difficult or the challenges that you faced throughout this process. What was not so great, to bring a little bit of reality to all of this. And don't seem that we are actually paying you to say good things about MazeX.
Should I go first?
Yeah, go.
Or
Yeah,
Christoph, do you
go
want
ahead.
to
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So the challenges. Again, it's hard to say because it's not anything from MazeX necessarily. Again, I'm being completely honest here. I think for us as a company, we were definitely going through a really hard time. So actually at the beginning of when the accelerator kicked off, SafetyNet, we decided to furlough our company for 2 months during the summertime. So that obviously made it a bit harder to one, engage, but the directors were still able to at least continue working with MazeX in terms of the program itself. But it made it really hard to keep things going in terms of business as usual, where we had built up some momentum and excitement, and yeah, during furlough that stopped a little bit. But then once we got out of furlough, I guess what the real challenge was that everything happened at once, and we were part of MazeX. So in terms of our timing, so our scheduling and agendas, it was just ram-packed, and it was really, really hard in the beginning to stay on top of, the business, like our business as usual, things that were happening and starting back up our business, but then also being able to take full advantage of like the trainings and the sessions that MazeX provided. So that was really, that was quite hard, especially for me in the beginning, because I took a bit of the lead role to be able to be kind of the central point for with MazeX program. But then the way to overcome that was that MazeX is also really great about being able to include your whole company in different aspects of the program. So initially we were like, oh, right, there's only 3 of us that are allowed to partake. But then I was like, guys, this is getting really hard and none of us have time. They're like, no, of course you can invite your business analyst or your customer success manager to the relevant training so that they can learn from that and be able to take that forward with the company. And it doesn't all have to be on me or on the 3 of us. So yeah, I think that was a really great solution to a challenge that we had at the time.
Cool. And for us, yeah, similar things. One first thing I wrote down and I thought about the biggest challenge was in like afterwards that it was virtual, because we really thought it would be like in person and having the session in person and having all this networking and the community. And then when we found out I think it was March, no, yeah, like April, May, June when we started, and the situation was like so bad with Corona still and very unsecure, well, we stayed here and we ran the virtual program. But now, well, we're used to it and it was handed out really well. But in the beginning, it was kind of bad to see like 20 other really motivated people and not being able to speak to them just like that. So that was like kind of sad, but it was really well. The other thing that Nadia mentioned, it's nearly a full-time job to take part in the program because there's so much good input. So for us, it's still sometimes a pity. We got so many good ideas and so many good ideas what we could do and approaches and everything, but we can't do everything in the day-to-day business because it's just too much. So you also have to learn to focus and take out the most important points and work on them. And we still have a very long list what we want to look at in January or February at our next strategy workshop to rethink what we can implement from those ideas we got from the program. But it's impossible to do it all. And you're the juggling the day-to-day business where you're already very busy as a founder, and then having this program at the same time is also very it's very hard. But you can manage it and you can delegate a lot of many sessions and it's possible. But this is like, I was really surprised that it's so much effort also to think about it and prepare it. And then you also want to get the benefits out of the program. So you want to work on it. But that means that automatically you can't focus your time on product development or other customers and those things. So that was a challenge for us.
Thank you, Christoph. So we have a few questions on the chat. Pavel, if you don't mind, we'll answer your question in a little bit. But Jerry, your question on fundraising during that the founders received during the program and the International Roadshow. I just want to make a note here, which is this year, the International Roadshow unfortunately didn't happen. We decided not to take it online and to pause it. So next year, we're going to have the 2 cohorts doing it together, which is going to be amazing. So this didn't happen, just so you know yet. But we'll have. And during the Discovery Week, this cohort, the 2021, will also join us, and it's going to be great fun. But so regarding the fundraising experience, in the case of MysteryMinds was not fundraising, is not fundraising. In the case of SafetyNet, you were also not actively fundraising, but you received some support on that level, Nadia. Do you want to share a little bit more context on your experience on this?
Yeah, definitely. So, so as I mentioned earlier, we had raised our seed investment at the end of 2019, early 2020, which timing-wise was very fortunate for us. So we've had enough runway that we didn't need investment right away. However, we were starting to already look forward in terms of what COVID was doing to our runway and when we would want to do our next raise. So I think sometime during the program, we're starting to already work on terms of our pitch deck and what would our next investment round look like, because we're now looking at raising our next round at the end of 2021. And so given that we had such a great network of people that had expertise in this area, we'd reached out to folks to help us get some input on, what should we be looking for? What should a great raise look like for the next steps for us? And how should we communicate that within the industry and the sector as well? So yeah, we've had some really great input on that. And also during the program, we were able, I think all of us actually, we were developing kind of a bit of our pitch deck because we did a demo day at the end of it. So this has kind of been the basis of now our pitch deck moving forward for investment as well.
Great. And just to complement what Nadia's experience, I just want to also mention that usually it's not very common that the startups are fundraising during the program. Usually that's the preparation for the fundraising, which happens afterwards. And we're still here to make connections. So the post program there's still a lot of connection, a lot of engagement with us, the MazeX team and the Maze team, and a lot of conversations with the fund as well, with our VC fund. And that's usually when this kind of support is more active in this sense. During the program, there's all the preparation, there's some networking, but usually we don't have success cases of someone closing around during the program. But actually this leads us to the question that I have here prepared for you, which is about what does it mean for you to be part of the Maze community now as founders? So maybe Christoph, do you want to start?
Yeah, what does it mean for us to be part of the community? It's really good to know there are people caring about us as well. So whenever we have something where we need an external view, where we need like benchmarking with other startups, there's always the possibility to ask questions and to get insights and to get exchange. We still have a Slack channel with the whole cohort and the MazeX group. So whenever we need something, we can just ask. And sometimes we have those conversations with, there was, for example, another startup from Germany in the cohort, and we took part in a different short-term accelerator. We could exchange on that. So there are always like things where you can know, how did you do these Excel sheets or the financial forecast, and you get feedback from all the others. So that's really amazing. And we still have regular calls with the cohort. So I think we meet every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks. So there's still an exchange, and we know what the others are doing and how they're advancing. And that's really nice to see all those impact startups growing together and seeing the progress of everyone. So yeah, it feels, I wouldn't say family, but it feels very, very, very nice, even if it's virtual. So we met like one time in Lisbon for the selection process in March, but then we met so often on here on Zoom, so that I think there's still like a nice feeling of a community.
Yeah, we're still missing that, like those beers altogether, definitely, but we'll have them very soon. Nadia.
Yeah, but yeah, actually surprisingly, and Christoph, you mentioned this earlier, the fact that like we first were like a bit, sad by the fact that it couldn't be in person. But yeah, MazeX, you guys did an amazing job of making the virtual as close to in person as possible. I think the biggest value that I got out of MazeX and now being part of the community is the community aspect itself. It's the network of knowing that you can always go to for help. So not just the MazeX team that are instantly responding and being able to help and provide resources, but yeah, all the other startups that were part of the cohort, or not just our cohort, the ones previous too, are always really happy to help. So whenever we had a question about whether it was like, recruitment or issues or financial planning, people would come forward and offer their support. And so it definitely really feels quite close-knit, and which is surprising for an online community where we haven't necessarily met everyone face-to-face in person. So that's been really nice. And also a bunch of the mentors and support network are on the Slack channel too. So you're able to reach out to them whenever as well.
Cool. We have another question, which is about the experience of the startups. That's why I'm reading it now, which is, did your experience at MazeX help you both find talent and connect to potential people to hire? In your case, I don't recall, maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't recall this being an area in which we supported you. Was it? Just a quick yes or no.
Kind of.
Yeah, okay, so
well,
go
we
ahead.
asked, like we had one or two
times.
times.
There were some startups in which this was a big area of support. I didn't remember about your case.
It was like not like the most important thing, but we evaluated at one stage if we want to hire developers from Portugal for our company, which is in Germany and Vienna and in Austria. But then we decided not to, but at least we spoke to some guys and we checked at least the market. And then in detail, we hired somebody for financial analysis, which was a freelancer in the end. So it was not a not a talent which is now employed for us, but it's a freelance project, and she's working for us on finance things, and she's from Portugal as well, and we got her through Antonio, I think, or no, through Luis, so through the network. And well, I think there would have been the chance if we would have wanted to hire extensively, that there is a possibility to work with you guys.
Okay, cool. So maybe, and Nadia, in your case, there was not, right, necessary?
No, we weren't looking at hiring anyone.
So I'll just quickly maybe talk like very quickly about some of the work that we did on this for the other startups that were recruiting. So first of all, HR tends to be an area that is quite important for a company scaling, be it in terms of structuring processes internally, on cultural development, assessment of the employees, all of those things, but also on preparing recruitment and actually actively recruiting. And in our case, we have, we provide the support of people with experience on these topics to help you think about it and adjust the processes and everything that you need on this end. Also, the CEOs of all the companies get 7 sessions of leadership coaching, so 1 every month. So it extends after the program as well, which is quite valuable to talk about some of these HR topics. But then when it comes to recruitment in specific, we have, so Maze has subscriptions to several platforms of talent, and we make both. We help you communicate your job profiles in those platforms, but we also extract data from applicants who are there that fit the criteria that you're looking for and provide you. Besides, we actively search in our networks for those. So we have helped in this sense. Cool. I hope it answers. If not, just follow up. Cool.
Yes, I'll just say so. Okay, so looking back to both of you, Christoph and Nadia, how do you compare your companies now versus before the program? What has changed?
Do you want me to start? Oh, all right.
You can start.
A lot has changed. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate on what's because of MazeX or what's because of the current situation, but definitely a lot has changed, and MazeX has been a real influence in that as well. So I think initially, as I'd mentioned, and I think Rita had mentioned also, is that MazeX helps develop kind of a plan for your 15 weeks, and you have these 3-week sprints that you do your work in and your development in. And so for each one of that, especially in the beginning, we laid out, okay, this is what we want to work on, and this is where we want to get to. So it gave us a real vision on what we wanted to achieve. And so some of those things were around being able to set up the right processes in order to get fulfillment for when our sales get going and we're going to markets. One was around marketing support and getting that set up. One was around our financial planning and making sure that we had a good model in place, both for our current investors, but also to help us with projections as we grew. And then there was a little bit also around making and ensuring that we had the right culture that can grow with the team as we were hiring and recruiting. So all of that happened. I think there's still a lot of work in progress because I think we were a bit over ambitious on what we wanted to achieve, but definitely big dents have been made, if not accomplished already. So I'd say from the beginning of when we entered MazeX to where we are now, we feel a lot more secure and confident on where we're going as a company, and that we have the right processes in place, and also just confident in knowing that we can get support along the way and that it's not all on us. So that's been really helpful.
Absolutely agree. It's similar for us, especially we focused a lot on the overall strategy. So I think there is in the application form a question, where do you see your company in 3 years or next year? And you already know as founders where you want to go, but now we can we really have it pointed out and very detailed and know exactly where we want to go. So we've refined it a lot. We worked a lot on the strategy, on where we want to go, how do we want to go there. We deducted a roadmap from there, and did like many steps that at our stage as a startup are necessary, but we didn't do before. So that helped a lot, and we improved a lot. So it's a lot more professional now in terms of IT, clearer focus and everything. And also in terms of financial planning, to see like how much can we invest from the revenue, how much should we invest, how should we grow, what is a growth strategy. We were also discussing, do we want to get funds or not? And we decided not to having fundraising, but anyway could employ 3 new people from the team. So there are a lot of changes, and we feel a lot more professional, a lot more focused, and yeah, and prepared for the future.
Cool. And based on your experience, we can start with you, Christoph. And for the future candidates, what would be your advice, both in terms of the program, but also in terms of the application process that they are going through?
I think it's a pretty easy answer. Just ask. So I remember they are really nice from the team, as you might have noticed right now. And I remember at one point of the interviews, I was not sure, should we progress it, or what should I answer, what should I write? So I think I just called Angela and I asked her, what do you think? What would be the best progress to have like this question answered? And we had a really good conversation that helped also to clear what we want to do and if we want to apply and what we should answer there. So that helped a lot. And then during the program as well, ask as many questions as you can to the other startups and also to the team. You get a lot of insight, a lot of good feedback, and a lot of insights and ideas. So yeah, feel free to, I think, ask Nadia or myself if you have questions after the call. I think we will always be available for a short call or for answering your questions by email.
That's something that we always say, like inside our website, we have a section of the founders from the previous cohorts with the LinkedIn links. Please reach out to them and ask all the questions that you have. I'm sure they will be glad to answer about how the experience was like for them. Nadia, do you want to answer to this question as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think what is really helpful is just to be open and honest. It's in order to make the most of the program. So it's a bit of vulnerability, but I think especially in times when things were tough or we had difficult challenges or situations, is being open and honest about it to the MazeX community, because then we received so much support and help that really helped. And so it's not just a superficial support, but something that could intrinsically help our organization a lot. So I think you get out of it as much as you put in. So kind of mentioned earlier, it's a very intensive program. So in order to make the most of it, definitely dedicate the time to the program and make sure that you have the bandwidth, but also perhaps being able to draw in people from your team for it.
Great, thank you. So we have 7 minutes left. Please ask more questions, either about the program in general or specifically to Christoph and Nadia. Take advantage of their presence here now. I will answer the question from Pavel that he wrote before about the stipend. So in the previous editions, we were giving each startup 7,500 euros as a stipend. So equity free, just cash for you, the founders. And why was that? The rationale behind this money was to support you with your expenses of moving to Lisbon, because the program was in person and you had to be here for 3 months. At the time it was 3 months, now it's 4, okay, don't confuse. But so you had to be here, and obviously that incurs expenses of travel, of accommodation, and we wanted really to support you on that. Right now, because the program is remote, we're not paying this amount. We're also not keeping this amount for ourselves. We're investing it and channeling it for the Discovery Week. So in the Discovery Week, which is that first week in Lisbon, you will be traveling to Lisbon. You'll stay here, and we will pay for all the costs of travel and accommodation. So this is the rationale behind us not having the stipend now. I hope that's clear. Let's see more questions. Richard, did Made help? So, okay, Richard Cabell via Facebook, startups have so many irons in the pot. ways the founders can use their time. Did Maze help with task prioritization?
Yes.
Who wants to answer? Nadia, you're nodding.
Yeah. So as mentioned earlier, it was the development plan that MazeX helped with us. And actually, again, one of those things that we were so surprised about on how hands-on they were with us is because they're like, right, we need to create a development plan for the next 3 months, and we're like, oh right, that's another thing we have to do. And then we joined the call, and they were like, screen share. Here's your development plan. Let's work on this together. And I was like, oh wow, it's already been made, which is amazing because based on our conversation and our application, these guys really pulled in that information and took it to heart. So it wasn't just an application which is then done and never looked at again. They're like, based on your application, you said that these were the areas you wanted to work on. So we already pulled in this, and we already found contacts that we can support you with. And this is when it's going to happen. So it's like, all it really required from our side was like yes, that looks good, or, any adjustments that were needed. But those 3-week sprints, each time the MazeX team put together for us with our input. But yeah, they definitely helped a lot, if not helped lead on it. Cool.
Thank you. So we have a few more questions. We have Marta asking some questions. Do we need to be based in Europe? So as I referred in the beginning, it's important that your priority as a business is to scale in Europe, that this is an important market for you, but you don't have to be based in Europe. You can be based anywhere. I mean, ideally, the time zone is not too far off from ours, because that would make it hard. but still, we could possibly go around that, or we'll try. But this is it. So your business and focus of growth should be Europe. Does Maze or MazeX invest in the ventures? As a participant of MazeX, no, we do not invest in the startups. So it's free for the startups. We don't take any equity, but we also don't invest, and there's no stipend this year. However, we have, as I mentioned, we have a VC fund focused on impact startups. And as part of the hands-on team that you will get throughout the program, we have an investor in residence who is Antonio, the CEO of Maze, but also the partner at our fund. He will be supporting you a lot throughout the program and all the fundraising questions and challenges that you may be facing. And obviously, this will give you a great advantage to build a relationship with the fund. And the fund does invest in some startups after the program, but only when there's an alignment for both sides. So there's no commitment whatsoever, but there's the opportunity, which is a good thing, hopefully. Let me see. I think we skipped one. How much traction is required for a startup to apply? This is a very tricky question because it's super hard to define what traction means. We look for companies that are scaling once again. So product has to be developed, some initial market validation has to exist. What that means in practice is up to each business. It depends on the context. It's really hard for us to say, but to give you some ideas of numbers, because everyone likes some benchmarks. Like in our case, the team size is from a team size perspective. The teams go from, let's say, 5 team members to 20 team members. It varies quite a lot. In terms of traction, revenue generation, or users or clients, then I cannot really mention because it's so diverse depending on the models. In terms of fundraising, it can be a startup that has never fundraised before or has already fundraised, let's say, up to 1.5 million euros. We have an outlier in this cohort, but which is EcoWave Power, but it's a specific case. So they have fundraised much more than that, but usually that's not the case. So let's say up to 1.5 million. So again, it's very diverse. Traction and where you stand depends on your business. What we care is that you can show us that the market validates your solution and that you're ready to sell and that you're ready to give the step of becoming more professionalized. That's where we can jump in and support you.
And then just, Rita, to complement, we have cases like MysteryMinds with more than 100 paying customers present in many countries inside Europe that want to rethink the way they approach the market and makes total sense for them to participate. So here we have 2 examples of startups in completely different stages in terms of how long they are in the market and in terms of how much they have fundraised, but that have a fit with the program and what we are looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a perfect point. And it's 5 p.m. You didn't hear my bells ringing, the church that I have in front of my place,
No.
because I was on mute, but they rang. And so if there are no further questions from the audience, we will terminate, I think, wrap up this session.
I did notice, sorry, there is a question in the Q&A from Marta about what makes a good application. I don't know if you guys.
I didn't see that one. Marta, okay. What makes a good application? A good application is, what makes a good application?
Christoph, what doesn't make a good application is like answering with 2 words to each question.
Yeah. In the case of MysteryMinds, we'll like do it again. This is not a don't repeat the joke.
They were honestly reaching out and telling her, can you please refill, like not the whole application, but those 20 fields, because we need more insights on that.
Yeah, but bear in mind, we don't always do this. So don't try us, please. But why do we do this? Because again, this is not a competition. We're looking for the best matches. We're looking for the best cases for us to add value. That's why in this case, it made perfect sense, but don't test us on this. So a good application, what is it? It's an application that answers to the questions that we ask with clear information. It's not really dubious. When we ask you for traction, just answer, just say what year that is representing, to like give us references, because sometimes it's really hard to understand what is meant by some of the numbers there. We just really want to understand the context in which you're at and the challenges that you face, to see if we are the right partner for you. This is it. So that we're not looking for the best, because best doesn't exist. So try to be as clear as you can and as honest as you can, because again, it just works in your favor, to be honest. I know, Alvar, it's tough, right? But life is like that. I mean, it's full-time job to read applications as well. So anyways, you know that you can reach out to Christoph, to Nadia, to the other founders. You have on our website, as Angela was saying, their LinkedIn. So there's a page there for the startups. Then you see their LinkedIn profiles. Reach out to them, ask for their experience, reach out to our team if you still have any doubts. We are accessible in a lot of different social media, email, all of those things. So yeah, don't refrain from asking us, okay? We're here. And we're very looking forward to meeting you all. And Nadia and Christoph will also meet you, because they'll be here for the Discovery Week, and we're going to have a lot of fun and build this super community. And I think this is it. Thank you for everyone's time. Angela, do you want to wrap up?
No, no, I'm good. Thank you, Nadia and Christoph. It was amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, bye-bye. Ciao.